Long after we were married, my husband and I had a story that changed my life, before and after. I am 25 years old and my name is Emily. I am an average girl who is into sports. My husband is 8 years older than me and I love that age difference. His name is Daniel. We met at a regular park, quickly started dating and got married. We were happy and looking forward to starting our life together. I moved into my husband's house, away from my parents, and my sisters were not on the best terms with me, so I did it very quickly. I felt excitement and fear, hoping that this would be the start of a new life. Everything seemed fine at first, but my husband also had a father-in-law living in my husband's house. This was a complication I hadn't thought of. I couldn't please him no matter what I did. He kept telling me that I would quickly divorce his son, that I couldn't do anything right, and that my husband didn't like people like that. My father-in-law had been divorced from his wife for years and was living with his son. He gave off an overbearing vibe that made me feel uncomfortable around him. When I told my husband about the constant criticism from his father, he dismissed my concerns. He said it was nothing and that his father would never behave like that. I really hoped that the situation would change for the better, because it was impossible to live like this. However, my father-in-law's behavior only got worse. Everything was complicated by the fact that my husband did not want to move out of that house. His entire childhood was spent there, and he was deeply attached to it. Leaving his beloved home was an impossible task for him. I had no choice but to adjust, even though it required a lot of emotional and physical effort on my part. Day after day, I spent my energy dealing with my father-in-law's antics, which consisted of constant nagging and unwanted remarks. One day at work, I told my coworkers about the situation. These women were older than me and closer to my husband's age, so I hoped they could share some wisdom with me. They listened attentively as I recounted my difficulties. When I finished, they surprised me with an unusual suggestion. They suggested that my father-in-law might just be craving female attention. I was stunned by their advice. It was so unconventional and shocking that I didn't know how to respond. But their words never left my mind. I realized that I had two choices: divorce my husband or try to take advantage of their unconventional suggestion. I decided to take my chances and follow their advice, albeit reluctantly. My father-in-law's favorite place in the house was the library, a cozy room filled with shelves of books and a large desk where he spent most of his time. He often asked me to help him with various tasks in the library, and I saw an opportunity. On one of the rare weekend days, I offered to help him. The library was in need of cleaning, and I began dusting the shelves on the second floor. While I was working, I accidentally knocked over some books on the floor below. As I went down the stairs to pick them up, my father-in-law seized the moment and began his usual lecture on my incompetence. His words were harsh and relentless. I wanted to defend myself, but he didn't give me a chance to speak up. Frustrated and desperate for a change, I made an impulsive decision. I walked over to him and hugged him tightly. He froze, clearly stunned by my unexpected gesture. For a while we both said nothing. Then, after a short pause, he hugged me back. What happened next was completely unexpected. The tension between us seemed to dissolve at that moment. Afterward, we went back to our business at the library as if nothing had happened, but something had undoubtedly shifted. Over the next week, I noticed a significant change in his behavior. He became kinder, more patient, and much less critical. It seemed as if some weight had been lifted from our communication. Reflecting on the advice I received from my colleagues, I couldn't help but marvel at how unconventional but effective it was. The situation was still challenging and far from ideal, but I couldn't deny that their advice had made a difference. Life in the house became more bearable, and for the first time I felt a glimmer of hope that things might continue to improve.